Hello, all. Hey, I wanted to get on here and um, do some reviewing and some renewing and talk about our new moon that we just had and setting intentions and manifesting and yeah, co creating and making room for the new. Yeah. So if you can see behind me, my little altar and space has changed, and I took the opportunity of the last couple days to do some clearing and some releasing and yeah, making room, making the space for something new to come into being. And so yeah, I just kind of cleaned up my altar behind me and took a lot of stuff down that had accumulated from the spring to the summer, and now that it's fall, um, yeah, it's time to clear some of that away and integrate and then release and make the new room, the new space for the new cycles of growth that are coming into being. And so, yeah, that felt really good to just kind of begin again. Acknowledge the ending and acknowledge everything that was within the last cycles of growth and awakening and welcoming in the new and saying farewell to what was ready to be released and what I no longer need. And so, yeah, that's been good. And it's been about 3 weeks almost since I've taken a leave from social media and Facebook. And yeah, that's been it's been an interesting couple weeks, making the room and making the space there in certain ways. So yeah, there's a couple things behind me, yeah, that represent like continuity in the circle and transformation. And you can see all the candles, the light, and the dark, yeah. And there's a couple symbols up there that are pretty fun that relate. And um, I invited my husband to participate this year in creating like a Samhain altar and an ancestors altar. Just, yeah, whatever felt right. So just getting out like different symbols or different photographs, or something that represents family or roots and connections and all of that, just so that when we see the space, consciously or unconsciously, it activates something within, to kind of, yeah, make the room, make the space, to focus on that and to play with and work with it and invite it and yeah, and bring it into our consciousness. And so yeah, that's kind of fun to do those kinds of things. And so like with the new moon in Libra, yeah, it is about balance and the light and dark and continuity and wholeness and union, equilibrium and support and balance and justice and all, and partnership. Yes, partnership. And so yeah, learned a lot. I learned a lot this year about partnership and about relationships and about myself. So, and about the relationship that I have with myself and how that is the relationship that determines or can influence my relationship with others. Yeah. And so, yeah, I've just been looking at a lot of those things, how we relate and how we engage and how we cooperate and how we exchange, and kind of like the give and take, the giving and the sharing and the receiving and the offering and the exchanging and the reciprocating. And yeah, and the circle. And so there's a couple things that I want to talk about today, and I'll just meander my way around. all around, and see how it relates, see how it wants to be communicated. And yeah. So the circle, there's a lot of things going on with the circle, and the circle is a beautiful symbol for continuity. And yeah, all those things that is nothing but holds everything. So the circle has healing power. In the circle, we are all equal. When in the circle, no one is in front of you, no one is behind you, no one is above you, no one is below you. The sacred circle is designed to create unity. The hoop of life is also a circle. On this hoop, there is a place for every species, every race, every tree, every plant. It is this completeness of life that must be respected in order to bring about health on this planet. Lakota Wisdom, Chief Dave Agola. The spirit intervenes, changing our dance, with destiny delicately urging the heart to open and serve. Berta Broken Bow. And then there's this quote that I love as a mantra. All parts of the great mysteries creation are made in wholeness. I honor the wholeness in me as I revere the perfection placed in all living things. Jamie Sams, Dancing the Dream. And then there's something that relates to 5. So human beings have 5 elements that stifle the spirit's ability to soar. Unwavering seriousness, self-importance, lack of imagination, the mind's negative chatter, and fear. Bird of Broken Bow. And here's, this other side of this board that I made like a couple years ago. And it was just for fun, like just playing with circles and stuff. And realizing that, one thing cannot exist unto itself. It only exists because it's relation to everything else. And that's kind of like the symbol of the circle with the point in the center. That's the self in relation to the whole, the self that knows itself in relation to the whole. And so the circle is wholeness, completion, inclusivity, continuity, integrity, fullness, belonging, eternal energy and motion, immortality, infinity, the beginning and the end, change, unity, nurturing, support, all sacred connections. Can be symbolized by so many different things. Like the circle is pretty much in so many things. Like it is like the original blueprint. So 0, the womb, the cosmos, the sun, the self, the cell, the eye, the iris, the lens. It can also be symbolized by the skull, because the skull is a circle and it's a bowl. And so is the womb, so that's interesting. And the circle, initiation, everything, revolution. The circle, spirit, soul, source, sun, moon, cosmos, the great hoop, the wheel of life, the self in relation to the whole. Cycles, and the wheel, the movement of the heavens and earth, never ending. And circle magic, protection, infinite nature, universal, sacred and divine, embodies spiritual energy. It's the source of life. It's union, unified balance, geometric archetype of the psyche, and awareness, higher awareness. That's the circle. And there's so many things, that relate to the circle. And there are so many different wheels and systems that work within the circle, or that employ the circle, to apply the wisdom. And one of those systems is the Eightfold Wheel of the Year, and I've been working with this system. It's an old Celtic system to acknowledge and observe the Druid festivals, which were the Sabbats that come about every 6 weeks during the year, and there are 8 of them. And so four of those holidays or Sabbats, holy days, are the equinoxes and the solstices. So right off the bat, it's just like the summer and the winter solstice and the spring and the autumn equinox. But then there are four other that are a little lesser known, but I feel like a lot of people may be like learning about this stuff and getting more familiar with the other holidays, the other festivals and Sabbats. And so the next one that's coming up is Samhain, and that's like October 31st about to November 2nd or November 3rd. Like it's not the same time every year. It kind of does go off the cycles of the moon in certain ways. And so like it's like kind of calculated by when there's a full moon around that time. What I have written down from a board that I made, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. It's usually around October 31st through November 2nd, or the nearest new or full moon closest to this time. And so in the Western Hemisphere, it's on or around those dates, or November 6th, which is the midpoint between autumn equinox and winter solstice. So we'll have Samhain, and then in about 6 weeks or so, then comes the winter solstice, and like our holiday time of like Christmas time and Yule and all of that. So that's pretty cool. I loved celebrating Yule last year, and I'll have like some really fun things to share about that in a couple weeks. But it like taught me so much, and I got so into it, and I just thought it was the coolest thing, because it is the 12 days of Christmas, or the 12 days of Yule, is like a miniature wheel of the year, contained in those 12 days that represent the 12 months of the year. And so like that was like just the coolest, most funnest thing for me to look at, like how each day like represented the qualities and the different energies and different things of the months of the year, and how like just that one day like encompassed like all the energies of that one month within it. And it's just kind of a fun way in miniature to see like the cycles and the seasons and the changes and the phases and the stages and continuity, like in that, on that scale and in those ways. So it's really given me a lot to kind of like pay attention and observe and acknowledge the rhythms of nature, and as she changes and she goes through her own cycles, the cycles within cycles, to see how she does it, like what it's kind of how it does have everything to do with change, and how everything is cyclical in different ways, through different ways. So like seeing those kinds of things, and it has like really helped me appreciate change and the transitions that we go through, and the gifts throughout our journey, and the rhythms and the patterns and different things, and like seeing what's available, and how energy is best used and directed like during certain times of the year. And it is super fun, like just to see like and discover and explore all these things, and just get more in tune and more connected to life, by observing and acknowledging like these times, and these surges, these opportunities to make use and utilize different surges in energy and time and space. So Samhain is usually known as at the end of the growing season, and summer's end, and the witch's new year, or the Celtic New Year. And it is kind of like the beginning and the end, and it's time of no time, the dark moon, chaos and transparency. So the veils are being lifted. The end of the harvest, so it's like the last harvest of the season, and they have a festival of the dead, Um, Family meals and feasts for the harvest. Gifts are exchanged and shared, and it's kind of like a Thanksgiving celebration for all we've been given and all we've been able to share. We make offerings for the living and the dead. Um, the veil is thin between the worlds of the living and the realm of the dead, and this facilitates contact and communication. It's a good time for meditation, divination, celebration, communication, sharing, blessing, invocation, and appreciation. So, yeah. And so, yeah. One of the funnest things that I did a couple years ago was do an ancestors altar. I just kind of got some pictures of some of my grandparents and some of my great grandparents and some loved ones that have passed, and some old pets, and some old dogs, doggy friends of mine, and invited my stepdaughter and my husband a couple years ago if they wanted to participate and add something to it and connect with their loved ones, and our shared loved ones in their own ways, through their own ways of being and playing and practicing and exploring that. And so that felt like super good, and I really did appreciate like the feelings of connection and gratitude and acknowledgement for my ancestors, and from where I've come from, my roots, and connecting, because I do have some amazing family members and amazing people in my ancestry, amazing ancestors, and super humbled and grateful, like, to feel connected to them and to feel the love and appreciation that I have for them, and that I know they have for me too. So it is mutual, and that is a good feeling. Yeah, I do feel them with me and around me, and so I feel like they're cheering me on and thanking me too, and I have felt the thanks and the praise and the gratitude from them. And so thank you, ancestors, and thank you, family, and thank you, friends and loved ones. So with the ancestral and the family patterns that I've been healing within myself and within my life for my well-being, and because I answered the call, and I knew a couple years ago, like, I was being asked to do that, but I had no idea how I could show up and choose that, or even receive that, or do that. But it's just like kind of surrendering things and letting go and being willing. And so it's just kind of interesting to see in certain ways, like how things just unfold when we get out of our own way. And and we're just willing to answer the call. And so listen to our hearts and to our souls, because they know. They know. Our body knows, our soul knows, our heart knows, our gut knows. And the divine mind, knows. Yes. And so, continuity and renewing and reviewing. And there's a few things I thought I would share, like, from my journal. So I'm almost done with this one. I started it on September 24th, I believe, yes. And now it's October 19th, and I have a couple more pages and it's done. So I figured I'd get on here and share a little bit of what I have learned, and like just the things I've been working with, playing with, practicing, and all of that. So let's see, where were we? Some of the patterns that I seen and acknowledged that relate to dynamics and roles and stories and trauma in my family. And yeah, and so sometimes it's a lot easier to see it um, from an impersonal viewpoint rather than a personal viewpoint. Well, for me, anyways, because I'm really very sensitive and very, very like a feeling person. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of feels about some of these things because it does relate to like the wounding of um, the orphan and the victim, and the martyr and the caregiver and the scapegoat and the sacrificial lamb and the peacemaker and the tyrant and the villain. And so, the idealist and the imposter and the fraud, and like all of these archetypes that were at play. And also, it's just like kind of wanting to be that lover or that like caregiver, that parent, which is also known as the romantic in a lot of ways, because commitment and devotion and intimacy are really important to me. And I realized in certain ways, like, yeah, that's what I've always wanted, is that deep relationship with substance and depth and true intimacy and authenticity and vulnerability. And that was, yeah, one of the things that I felt was lacking. Like, why don't I have that? Why can't I have that with so and so? Why is it not the way that I would like it or desire it to be? And I found out in certain ways, like, how there's a tendency to sabotage ourselves or think the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence or whatnot. Like, seeing what's outside of us in certain ways, like maybe focusing on what's wrong, or rather than what's right, what's lacking rather than what's right here, what's already available. And that's kind of a tricky thing. Like, yeah, maybe just being taught to focus on what's not right or what's lacking so we can go fix it, or or whatever that is. And so, yeah, just looking at different patterns and like why I took certain things personally, or took on the responsibility of it, or yeah, because I mean, a lot of it had to do with growing up and patterns and survival strategies, learned conditioning, social learning as a child to adapt. And so what becomes adaptive in the child becomes maladaptive in the adult. And yeah, also seeing like in certain ways how I never did want to grow up, because like growing up seemed like something I didn't want to do. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. So I'll just be a child. I'll be Peter Pan. I'll be the epicure, the eternal child for my life. And in a way, that's like an awesome thing, like as far as like the magical child goes, and like being spontaneous and being open and having wonder and being awed by the magical and the mundane. But also in another way, being codependent, yeah, and not taking actions that I needed to for me. And so, like, yeah, seeing the light and the dark aspects of kind of being the eternal child. And yeah, and that's not a bad thing at all, because yeah, the child is like such a beautiful, beautiful aspect of me and of all of us. Like the child love the child, and that's like my mother and me too, and the child within me that loves the child too. And so yeah, really strengthening and structuring my sense of self through being the mother to me, my mother, my own lover, my own parent that I needed for me, and to let me be like the child that I need to be as well, and to come in, bring my mother energy in, to nurture, to hold, to care for me, to to create a container, a safe container for my child to be, and the child, needs the mother just as much as the mother needs to and wants to give and receive her child. And so, the mother can't exist unto herself. The child can't exist unto herself. They exist in relationship to and with each other, through each other. And so, just kind of like looking at all those things, how some of these archetypes are interchangeable, and how they do kind of, they do hold a piece of each one within it. And it's just interesting, like, to see like the diamond and all the facets, and how they reflect and project all these aspects and all these faces of these aspects, these facets. So but a lot of my original wounding and my pain stemmed and came from abandonment stories, abandonment issues. Feeling like everyone leaves, or there's not enough for me, and then there's the unworthy game, the worthy or unworthy, and then there's the not enough, too much story, script, play, not enough, too much. And so like seeing those things, like how we're either too much or we're not enough, and that's just bullshit, like in a lot of ways, like, and a lot of that is the idealist and the imposter at play, and then trying to make up for perceived shortcomings, like, and like that dark side of the caregiver and the peacemaker that doesn't want to express true feelings or wants to avoid confrontation or unpleasantness or discomfort, or not wanting to be vulnerable or be imperfect, make mistakes or not be seen as right, all of that. And so like what I wrote today, because I'm just looking at some things. Looking at those things. So abandonment, and I have the ghost behind me. Like the ghost archetype was one of the first archetypes that like I kind of came into my awareness to kind of show me different things about like what the ghost was asking me or the ghost was showing me. And a part of that was like the hungry ghost or the addict, and the one that just wanted to avoid stuff and not confront stuff and hide from stuff, because it was more comfortable just to sweep it under the rug or to ignore it or hope that it would just fix itself or change itself, or someone else would come to the rescue, or like any one of those things. But the ghost has a lot to do with the addict and the victim, and being disembodied, not wanting to be here, not wanting to be in the present, romanticizing or staying stuck in the past, or regrets, and then also worry about, or just like idealizing of the future, and so never really wanting to be here, like with what is, or what's now. And so that's changed a lot for me in a lot of ways, where I'm showing up for myself now, and I'm being present and opening to being present and to that presence, to the gift of presence, and to embodying yeah, what I'm feeling, to embodying like what I need for me, so I can show up and be me, and be all my love for all of me. So that's been, yeah, some work that I got to choose for me in the beginning. Yeah, was showing up and being myself. How do I show up and be myself? And it's like learning, like, wow, like, who am I really? What is this self? And all those things, and realizing that it's a fullness and that it's continuously unfolding. So I'm asking myself questions about withdrawal and withdrawing, removing myself from certain situations where I know it's not up to me to take care or to fix or rescue others. I get to show up for me. Of course, I want to lend my support and show up for my relationships and show up for my commitments and to what I've agreed to, and to be accountable, but knowing that I'm not Atlas, and it's not my job to carry the whole thing or the whole relationship, so it can be okay. And so, yeah, knowing that I can just let certain things go, and I don't need to fix or rescue or manipulate things or manage things. I can just let them be how they are, as they are, and then respond as I'm willing, or as I can, as I'm able to. So, withdrawing or withdrawal versus playing small and hiding or avoiding. So, stepping back and letting go, witnessing, observing, being curious rather than judging, or making convenient assumptions and reinforcing the lack stories. What is being offered? What is being asked? What is being given? What is being freed? What is being released? What is being presented as an opportunity for power, responsibility, growth, alignment, and integrity? What are the resources? What are my resources? What can I use as fuel? What energy is being redirected? Notice the gifts and blessings. What is being offered for nurturing, attending? And where can I give my self-care, and where can I allow myself to surrender and rest? So, just different good prompts for me to look at and to remember. So a lot of yeah, there's a pattern that it's avoidance. And so if I see that in other people that I'm in relationship with, avoidance, just having compassion, because I know, like, sometimes it's scary to face things, and sometimes the cave that we fear to enter does hold the treasure that we seek, but it's so hard to get out of our own way to be able to allow ourselves to receive what we need through those ways, through all those ways, and surrendering what we think it's supposed to be. And it's kind of facing our fears, or silencing our fears and letting go, and trusting that we're held and supported, and answering the call. So running away and avoiding things rather than choosing to own and confront the stories and the patterns, the wound, the pain, the grief, the root of the illness, illusion, suffering, misery, victim mentality, martyrdom, and alienation, separation, estrangement, the orphan, the cruel abandoning one, the miser, the withholding one, the scapegoat, Atlas, take it all on, codependent, enabler, doormat, whore, people pleaser, nitpicker, idealist, hypocrite, perfectionist, I'm over it, just let it be, let go, and let God, let love be received. So, thinking about the scapegoat and the victim, miser, martyr, if you'd only try harder to please me and be who I need you to be. No one understands or knows what it's like to be me. Oh, poor me. Making myself self-important through my own self-pity. Separating myself through self-importance and indulging in self-made pity. Victim mentality, blaming the situation, outer circumstance, the pain and shame, the other, the mother, the cruel abandoning one. Disallowance of feelings, needs, authentic expression, and genuine vulnerability. Full of stories, descriptions, and old beliefs, there's no room for more stories, for your feelings, or your perspectives and experience. In a box of mental constructs, a prison of emotional pain, recycling unconsciously fear and desire ideals of how life and we need to be. Patterns, or how patterns, are supposed to be. On the wheel of fortune, the judge's hamster wheel. Oh, you're too much too much. You're not enough for me. Yeah. Don't ask me for anything. I just want to feel sorry for myself, to isolate, to alienate, to separate, exile myself. Because playing at being the victim works so well for me. It's easier to blame or shift blame and project than to take accountability for myself, actions, choices, thoughts, and creative energy. So, you choose to run away, play small, avoidance of confrontation, expression, and authenticity, avoid the exposure of vulnerability, choose to project and blame it all on external reality and others who just won't be who you want them to be, avoidance of true intimacy. You're not enough, I'm not enough, old tired stories to the polarized extreme of way too much, there's too much expected of me, too much impressed upon me, too much for me, you're too much too much for me, and my leaking energy. So what, not enough or too much? What is the root of this diseased story? Perfectionism, idealism, and not enough. Worries. Holding on to old stories and beliefs that reinforce the lack and the hurry. Because it was about time and energy. Time, space, and energy. Do I have the time? Yeah, I can always make the time. And that's why I would get resentful towards others if they wouldn't make the time for me. Like, if you really want to make the time, you'll make the time. If you don't want to make the time, you'll make excuses, you know? And that's pretty much how I feel about that. But yeah, and I think I was more hard on myself than anyone else for ghosting or for flaking out or whatever, not showing up. I know it did frustrate some of my friends and some of my family members in my relationships when I was unable to show up. I would commit to something and then the day would come around and I couldn't, either for, certain reasons, expectations that would sabotage myself. And like some of those reasons were the addict. I did used to drink a lot. And so, I was an alcoholic for many, many years, or a binge drinker for many, many years, to numb and escape and avoid being here. And so, that's like, in a lot of ways, what my coping strategies were, because it was too much to feel. And then I wasn't enough. And so it would give me a false sense of security, I guess, like when letting go of some of the inhibitions. And then I could be whoever I wanted to be, you know? But then the next day, I'd just pay for it and it'd be hell. And then I wasn't enough again. And it was just that vicious cycle of too much, not enough. Too much, not enough. Yeah. And so that was like a really big thing that kept me from showing up for myself and those in relationship with me. And so looking at those patterns the last couple years, and so it's been like really great to be able to dissolve some of those old patterns and or to just be aware of them and work with them and play with them and all that. So it's been pretty cool, like to see like certain things change and to see like how I've developed some strengths that I didn't know I had, that I saw as limitations. And that's the most awesome part of it all. It's like the things that I saw as limitations, they actually were my strengths. They just got to be cultivated and nurtured and attended to. And so, seeing some certain resentments about why am I not important? Why am I not a priority? Why do you not have like anything left for me? Like, you know, like not that I expect like someone to take care of me or anything, but like, why isn't there room for me in this relationship? Like, do we not have one? Or like, is it not important? Is because like, yeah. And I just kind of was thinking about certain things. Like, if our relationship is a garden, yeah, what do you think it would look like? Do you think it would look overgrown, or do you think it would look totally neglected, or do you think it would look like a beautiful, beautiful, thriving, magical place? And a lot of those relationships like looked like, oh man, gotta like kind of do a little bit of renovation here because it's pretty neglected, or there needs to be some kind of revitalization or some kind of thing. Like, that can't happen without nurturance and attendance and being willing. And so, like, I know we all get busy with things and we all have like a lot on our plate, and sometimes it's all we can do just to take care of ourselves and what we need to attend to, and we don't have anything left to give anyone else, like, a lot of the times. But sometimes it's an avoidance of intimacy, and it's an avoidance of our own vulnerability and our own pain and our own stories and our own shit and our own power. And so, yeah, sometimes it's not personal. It's just, yeah, looking at it in those ways too. But also knowing that there is, yeah, room for accountability. And if we're not showing up where we need to, like, maybe we get to ask ourselves, why am I having a hard time showing up here? Is it is it something that I feel like I'm obligated to do, so therefore I don't want to do it, I'm rebelling, and this is my passive aggressive way of handling it, or whatever. And yeah, just those kinds of things are good to look at, like why we avoid certain things, or why we want to control certain things, or why we want to idolize things, or yeah, just looking at those things. And certain things we wouldn't be able to see if they didn't play out through certain relationships. And so that's like the cool thing. It's like the mirror. The relationship can be a mirror and a reflection of the relationship that we have with ourselves. So like, just knowing like that it's not always personal either, and it can be, it can show us like what we need to see about the relationship we have with ourselves, or it can show us something about the other and their relationship that they have with themselves. And so, yeah, this is interesting to look at. And so, yeah, what I've been seeing in different ways related to the wounded child and the wounded parent, that push and pull dynamic of not enough and too much, the idealist and the perfectionist, the entitled victim, the slave to the ego, like of desire, fear, and illusion, security, image, belonging, certain things like that. Identities, beliefs, stories, scripts, who I think I am, or who I want others to see me as. Yeah, the face that I put forward and that I want people to recognize in certain ways sometimes. That can sabotage like authenticity. So the scorekeeper and the detective, the codependent narcissist dynamic, the smother mother tyrant, and the abandoning cruel one. So that's that push and pull. They either smother you with love and attention and love bombing and like dump like all of this stuff on, or no attention, no words, keeping you at arm's length, nothing left for you, just ghosting. Yeah. And so I think those kind of things relate to my martyr and my rescuer, my idealist and the romantic. And I have like, yeah, my idealist lover and romantic, and I have some things to share about that, like that I found today about the romantic, and that is so, it's just so cool how those things like kind of pop up. And yeah, working with something, and then yeah, it's just kind of another hint or message or wink for me. The victim and the damsel in distress, the miser and the asshole, the rebel and the outcast, the orphan and the scapegoat, the fixer, the pleaser, the savior, the caregiver, hero. Yeah. So just looking at those things. Partnership and surrender, allowance and boundaries, surrender false control, surrender attachments, outcomes, agendas, fears, beliefs, scripts, and all that polarize and divides. Resentment is like eating poison, and then I'm waiting for you to die while burning my insides and leaking my energy unwisely. And so, realization, realize, realize, realize. The poisoned mind can only deceive, distort, fragment, and compartmentalize lies. The mastered mind is a dutiful servant that penetrates through time and the illusion of separation. The veils penetrated and illuminated. A clear, still open mind, open to wonder, awe, possibilities, and what is and has been unfolding, moving, changing, transforming, renewing, and falling away, recycling, regenerating, reordering, reforming, rewiring, releasing, remembering, receiving, refreshing, revitalizing, recreating, reviewing, renaming, reframing, realizing all these things that are all a part of me and we, all things connected, related, and being, birthed into being, becoming through being, created, being through becoming, becoming through being, just being, becoming through being, becoming, all that I am that, I am that, I am that I am, all this love, I am that, I am. What I've been working with, the shaman's death and rebirth, and one of those symbols and archetypes or totems. There's a bat up there. There's a bat candle. I'm not sure if you can see it at all. Probably not, but I've been working with bat this year and hanging upside down like the hangman. So observing, suspending, listening, hanging around, bat medicine, letting go, I observe, observing, witnessing, slowing down, stillness, the bridge. And so I got some things cleared out, cleared some space, cleared the air, cleared my mind, cleared my heart, cleared the room, cleared so here, clear conscience, clear head, clear vision, clear intent, clearing and awakening, clarity and harmony, inclusivity and diversity, God's love and power, creative possibilities, cooperating, co-creating. So, what I learned, like, from the last couple months, with these lessons that I received, and I got to play with, receive for me, and integrate, and in the process of integrating still, really got to look at my relationships to and with authority, and am my own authority, and what does my relationship look like with external authority. So letting go of agendas and facing my fears, and it was all about inclusivity and boundaries, and knowing, what to include and when to remove myself from the situation. So that's kind of tricky sometimes. So being true to me, choosing love for me, letting go of attachments to identities and roles, outcomes, and false peace, false belonging, letting go of old stories, false beliefs, and old ways of being and operating. Confronting, why herd mentality and conformity bothers me so much, and the closed-mindedness and fear-based programming, fear and trauma-based survival strategies, and how that goes along with belonging and security. And where have we given our power away? Where have I given my power away? Where can I own my power rather than shifting blame? or using guilt and shame, and looking at the child parent codependency cycles um, of that codependent narcissistic relationship dynamic. And so, working with trust, truth, discernment, refining my discernment, yeah, questioning different things and observing. So, faith, willingness, and looking at my attitude and my attention and my action, my focus and gratitude. So, yeah, looking at those things. But there's so much really to talk about, like, that I got to explore and I got to look at through when I became aware of, and I didn't realize, like, I just didn't even see, like, how big of a part, like, this codependent narcissist relationship plays and out in different ways. Like, I had no idea till I started looking into it a couple months ago, really. Like, seeds were planted a couple months ago. And then I'd get different, like, little hits about it as I went on. And then I could see a little bit more. And then I could see a little bit more. And then it, like, all, like, came into focus. And it was just like, damn, it's just huge. Like, and I didn't really get to see, like, certain things about it until I had different little triggers and fires come up in a certain relationship with someone close to me, or someone that I desire to have closeness with, but it's not really there, and it's not really available for me. And it's like, yeah, just kind of looking at those things and the stories that came up around that, and the resentments that were there, and remembering different things from childhood and how it relates to what's playing out now in certain patterns. And I wouldn't have been able to see certain things if it wouldn't have been right in front of my face. Like, first I was seeing it in an impersonal way. And then, yeah, when I was wounded and triggered and seeing from the wound, seeing it from a personal viewpoint, that's when I got really blind about it and really, it just didn't feel right, and it felt wrong, and it made me want to blame, and it made me want to condemn and judge and all that, and feel self-pity and in certain ways avoid the pain of it, but in other ways it really motivated me to face it. And so, yeah, it was a mixed bag. So it's kind of funny. Just wanting to know, like, yeah, and questioning myself in certain ways too, because, like, it's all about being the caregiver. And then in certain ways, when I don't feel like I'm enough, and feeling guilty that I didn't give enough or I wasn't enough. And it could be the opposite too, like, in certain ways. And I was just seeing, like, how, like, how my anger had manifested, or how it wasn't okay for me to express it. How I believed it wasn't okay for me to express it in certain ways, my anger or feelings of anger. And how just with social learning and conditioning, how I would turn it in on myself as a depression, the, like, rage turned inward, and then, like, numbing it out through distractions and through addictions and things. And then sometimes it would come out in different shadow dumps or in passive aggressive ways that I was unaware of, but some of me was aware of that too in certain ways. And, like, how certain resentments, I'd feel certain resentments, but then I'd feel bad about having the resentment too, like feeling guilty. And so it was all a big old mess. And so sometimes it's like kind of wanting to avoid that big old mess. But, like, that's the big old mess is what we get to fertilize and play with and play in and create in and grow in. So let's not avoid that. Let's get in there and get messy. You know, it's good to get messy sometimes. So yeah, it's hard to know what to want to share, but I'll just read whatever I have here. So passive aggressive manipulation and reverse judgments, resentments, victim martyr, blame, guilt, codependent, rationalization. I was begging for time, attention, connection, support, intimacy, trying to win over the unwinnable parent. Please see me. Please see me as good. Please see me as worthy. Please see me as enough. Caregiving, people-pleasing, mediator, peacekeeping, threats, intimidation, isolation, coercive control, narcissists, smear campaigns, avoidance, stonewalling, dangerous and slippery, setting the stage, innuendo, gossip, silent treatment, punishment, withholding, gaslighting, breadcrumbs, carrot on a stick, future faking, promises that aren't meant to be kept. And that's just flaky. Gift giving, victim entitlement, baiting, hope, and harnessing. So reeling us in, baiting, and then, now that I have you, I don't want you anymore, kind of a thing, almost like that. Ego flattery, validation, trauma bonding, undermining, devaluing, discarding, justifying, minimizing, deflecting, rejecting, ghosting, sob stories, self-pity, self-importance, self-absorbed, flaking, envy, jealousy, resentments, entitlement, exploitation, dominance, secrecy, projection, mirroring, exploitation of vulnerabilities, treating people as tools and resources for the narcissistic supply, validation and worship, or getting our own needs met through this manipulative covert strategy, fragile insecurity, and abandonment. So why did I stay? Loyalty, hope, and guilt. Why did I stay in relationships that were not honoring me or the other, like in certain ways, but and it's kind of interesting. Addicted to caregiving roles and codependence, poor self-esteem, blind to the emotional manipulation, rose-colored glasses for idealism and pedestal projections, looking for validation outside of me, wanting someone to see, need, and recognize me, and to take care of me or share care and reciprocity with me, or reciprocate with me. Intimacy. And then it was push and pull dynamics of avoidance of intimacy and or starving for it. Or either scared to death of it or we're starving for it. Like the fear desire cycle. So self-doubt and benefit of the doubt for the other. To belong, to be included, to be loved, to be enough. Hoping to get my needs met if I gave enough. Or be worthy, to have my needs met if I gave what the other person wanted. Or if I was who the other person wanted. And that was my chameleon, or my attempt to conform or to fit in, and have that love returned through attention and through gestures of affection. So just looking at all those things and how in a lot of ways I was freaking disappointed and let down in certain ways, and that was one of the things that I was most afraid of, was letting other people down too, and feeling guilty about that. So looking at all of this stuff, and maybe I will share some more next time. Today I picked up my Enneagram Made Easy book because I saw it downstairs, and I was just like, I'm gonna look at that. And so I went through it, and I was kind of looking this morning, and there's a section in front of each personality type where you kind of check the boxes that fit with you before the age of 25. And so, I was just looking at that, but I went through all the 9 types, and originally I thought I was a 9, like the peacemaker or the mediator, because the 9 has a good grouping of or can identify with like all the types, almost the mediator. And yeah, that's kind of like, I do feel like that's a strong personality trait or type that I do have, is that 9, the mediator, the peacemaker. But actually, the one that fit the most for me, that I checked off like all the boxes, was number 4, the romantic. And that was kind of funny for me to see in a lot of ways, because that's also the idealist. And but yeah, just the coolest kind of things that I noticed. Where did my glasses go? Oh, my glasses are gone. I swear I had them a minute ago. That's funny. Oh well, let's see what I can do without them. Let's see. So, the 4s, yeah. Number 4 is the romantic, the lover, and the idealist. And so, what's hard about being a 4? Experiencing dark moods of emptiness and despair, feelings of self-hatred and shame, believing I don't deserve to be loved, feeling guilty when I disappoint people, feeling hurt or attacked when someone misunderstands me, expecting too much from myself and life, fearing being abandoned, obsessing over resentments, and longing for what I don't have. That is like kind of funny. Interesting. So, how to get along with me? Give me plenty of compliments. Well, I seriously don't need a lot of compliments, but they're always nice to hear if they're genuine, you know? Or it's like that expression of appreciation I do love. I don't need to like hear how great I am, but like, but I do like to have acknowledgement, like, yeah, in certain ways. So, be a supportive friend or partner. Help me to learn to love and value myself. Yeah. And I do like to do that for other people too. To share love and value with them, because that's important to me. So respect me for my special gifts of intuition and vision. Though I don't always want to be cheered up when I'm feeling melancholy, I sometimes like to have someone lighten me up a little bit. Yeah, because melancholy is a big thing too. It was always a big thing when I was a kid. Like just a sense of melancholy or profound sadness, or some kind of just a feeling or a mourning, or just not feeling understood, or that I belonged or that I mattered in certain ways. So don't tell me I'm too sensitive or that I'm overreacting. Yeah, because we're deep feelers. And so what's kind of hard for me to be that deep feeler when sometimes there's no time for that, you know? You feel so rushed and hurried and overburdened and overwhelmed with other things. And that's why it's like masking the feelings and shoving them down and pushing them away, you know? So, relationships. 4s are at their best in relationships. Yeah. They're empathetic, supportive, gentle, playful, passionate, and witty. They are self-revealing and bond easily. 4s at their worst in a relationship are too self-absorbed, jealous, emotionally needy, moody, self-righteous, and overly critical. They become hurt and feel rejected easily. What I like about being a 4: my ability to find meaning in life and to experience feelings at a deep level. My ability to establish warm connections with people. Admiring what is noble, truthful, and beautiful in life. And my creativity, intuition, and sense of humor. Being unique and being seen as unique by others. Having aesthetic sensibilities. Being able to easily pick up the feelings of people around me. Yeah, it's like the empath. So, and being supportive of my friends. And it totally does. I just can't even believe how much that feels like it fits me. Like so much. Like, and I kind of ignored that one a little bit because I just kind of brushed it off like a couple of years ago.
But now, like, finding it today, it's just like totally seeing it in a new way and seeing myself in a new way too, in whole new ways. So, um, fours as children often have active imaginations, play creatively alone or organize playmates in original games, are very sensitive, feel that they don't fit in, believe they are missing something that other people have, attach themselves to idealized teachers, heroes, artists, etc., become anti authoritarian or rebellious when criticized or misunderstood, feel lonely or abandoned, perhaps as a result of a death or their parents' divorce. Yeah, so this is kind of funny, like in a lot of ways, how much this I feel like it just fits for me. So, fours as parents, they help their children become who they really are. They support their children's creativity and originality. They're good at helping their children to get in touch with their feelings, are sometimes overly critical or overly protective, are usually very good with children, if not too self-absorbed. And then fours for careers. Fours can inspire, influence, and persuade through the arts, music, fine art, dancing, and written or spoken word, poetry, novels, journalism, teaching. Many like to help bring out the best in people as psychologists or counselors. Some take pride in the small businesses they own. Other fours accept mundane jobs to support their creative pursuits. So if the four in free time, fours enjoy spending time with their partners and children and maintaining important close friendships. They appreciate nature, pursue spiritual interests, and attend musical, artistic, and literary events. Many enjoy browsing in bookstores, shopping in boutiques, and looking for interesting clothing and one-of-a-kind treasures. Fours often express themselves creatively. Some are active in anti-violence or in political causes. So, yeah, this is some interesting things about the four, and practical suggestions and exercises for a four. Be proud of all your special gifts, talents, and accomplishments. Work toward fulfilling the needs that were not met in your childhood. Treat yourself lovingly and compassionately. Devote yourself to the task of self-discipline. Value living in the present. Find ways to make everyday duties and responsibilities creative or playful. And then wake up and play, fucking A, it's okay. Commit yourself to creative work that will bring out the best in you. Try to make this your source of financial support. If it is not possible to make a career of your creativity, make sure you make the time you need for your ideas to germinate in your off-work hours. And notice what qualities you admire or envy in others and develop them in yourself. Relationships. Be direct and specific about stating what you want and don't want. Be careful not to blow what others say out of proportion. If you feel offended, check to find out what was really meant. Develop a strong support system of friends rather than relying on only one to meet all of your emotional needs. I totally do that for sure. Deal with interpersonal issues quickly instead of withdrawing from them. Try to be objective and not overpower people with your emotions. And feelings and emotions. Write your feelings down in the strongest language possible in a letter that you do not mail. And that's what I've been doing actually in my journals, like expressing myself and like, yeah, just how it wants to be expressed, and how I want to express myself and how I feel about it. And that has been super helpful. So when you have trouble controlling an emotional reaction, 1, become a detached observer. I observe letting go. 2, visualize yourself gradually nurturing the dial down. Visualize yourself gradually turning the dial down. Stand still and hurt. This is like allow the discomfort. Remember, it will pass. Channel your feelings into creative activities. This will help you not be run entirely by your feelings. So 4s often amplify their feelings out of proportion. See if you are more attached to the intensity of the feeling than to the feeling itself.
And that was kind of one of the things that I saw or this last week, was like, oh, there's an addiction to certain feelings, or an addiction to a certain intensity of feelings, or yeah, just kind of was seeing into that a little bit. So that's kind of fun that it pops up again here in certain ways. And being off of like social media in certain ways has helped me actually be a little more in tune with certain feelings, and yeah, and if they're mine, and differentiating, yeah, if they're not. Yeah, and the stories too. So avoiding depression as reasonably as possible. Confront people who upset you so your anger doesn't turn inward. Develop good habits of sleep, exercise, eating, and work. Allow yourself to mourn your major losses. Get professional help if necessary. Get out of the house and keep moving. And that's, yeah, keep moving. Continuity. But I am allowed to rest too. So, but I just keep working, keep playing and practicing. And then letting go, surrendering. So, work at belonging, keep in close touch with relatives and friends. Well, I don't think I need to work at belonging, but like I do want to show up and nurture my relationships. So, try to express your depression creatively in poetry, music, dance, or art. Focus on the positive aspects of your life. Make a list of the things you're thankful for. Write it big and post it on your wall. Positive things to say to yourself. And this was so great because this is already like what I'm kind of working with already this last little while. So I will value each day, no matter how imperfect, like letting go of that perfect value and like reevaluating things and saying thank you for this day. I will relax and enjoy the presence, relaxing into love. Yeah. I am at home in my body, the world, and the universe, at the heart of my life. All is well. That's been my mantra like this year, all is well. So, I am beautiful, capable, and lovable just as I am. There is nothing to make up for. I am beautiful, capable, and lovable just as I am. There is nothing to make up for. I can be as kind to myself as I am to my best friend. And I will make the world a better place by putting my ideals into action. And so, yeah, that's what it's been about too, is action. Yeah. So like I just can't even say how perfect that was, because it just went along with everything like that I've been working with the last couple months, couple of weeks, and couple days. And so how fun was that to pop up in my space today? And so yeah, I just wanted to share a few of those things and how they relate. And I do know that it's been helpful for me to express and to share like my journey and my alchemical process, and my process of individuation and awakening and transformation. And I always do know that like, yeah, whatever I see in me like does relate to the whole, and whatever I see in the whole does relate to me. And because it is one and the same, yeah, parts of the whole. Yeah, the whole thing. And so, yeah, I in certain ways, I don't ever see it as separate or see us as separate, but in certain ways, like it's been interesting to be able to differentiate or to learn how to differentiate in true ways. Yeah. Because that was like one of the hardest things for me, like separating what's yours and what's mine and what's ours, and yeah, all of that. And so just looking at all these things and seeing how they relate to me and we and our relationships, and how we do teach each other and learn from each other, and yeah, teach each other, yeah, in our relationships and in through our relationships. And even when it doesn't feel good, and even when it's not ideal, or even when it feels like there's something that's lacking, it's like, yeah, it's a message, and it's a gift. It's an opportunity to see what I get to show up for, what I get to ask for, what I get to allow, what I get to offer myself, what I get to confront, and where I get to act, or where I get to put my energy into action and embody myself. So yeah, next time I'll talk a little bit more about Samhain and all the symbolism and like some of the rituals and the correspondences of Samhain, because there's a lot of things that are exciting. And I love this holiday, and I love the fall. So I love the feeling of being able to slow down and yeah, feeling this coziness and this sense of completion and achievement, or yeah, just everything that's been harvested and welcomed and grown. And it just like, yeah, just all those warm feelings of gratitude about all of that. So what's been happening with you and your journey, and what's been popping up in your space for you to play with and for you to practice and get to know and be with. All right. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're being love for yourself, taking care of yourself. Yeah. Showing up for yourself. Talk to you again soon. Be well. Bye-bye for now.